Good day, ma'am. So for today's discussion, I'll be discuss about the MAMANWA tribe. But before we proceed to the discussion, I'll be first discuss what is MAMANWA tribe. So, the MAMANWA tribe are indigenous people living in the Philippines, primarily in the Caraga region. They have a rich cultural heritage and are considered one of the oldest tribes in the country. Unfortunately, they face significant challenges related to the poverty and marginalization, and are indeed considered the second poorest indigenous group in the Philippines. So next, we proceed to the location and population of the MAMANWA tribe. So, the MAMANWA language is spoken by the MAMANWA people, an indigenous group living in the following area. So, the Agosan del Norte, Surigao del Norte, Surigao del Sur, part of Southern Leyte, and near Lake Mainit. According to the 1990 census, there are approximately 5,000 speakers of the MAMANWA language. The population may have slightly increased since then. Language and characteristic of MAMANWA tribe. So the MAMANWA language belongs to the Austronesian language family and is closely related to the other language spoken in the region, such as Butuanon and Surigaonon. So here is the example of MAMANWA language. Maadjong kuugma. It says, I will go to the forest tomorrow. So, maadjong means I will go. Ku is pronounced meaning I. Ugma means to the forest or in the forest. So that sentence demonstrates the basic structure and vocabulary of the MAMANWA tribe. Cultural significance. The MAMANWA language plays a vital role in the cultural identity and tradition of the MAMANWA people. It is used in a daily communication, storytelling, and cultural rituals. Efforts are being made to document and preserve the MAMANWA language, including language education programs and cultural rehabilitation initiative. So next is the ethnic origin of the MAMANWA tribe. The MAMANWA people are part of the Negrito groups, which are indigenous peoples found in the various parts of the Southeast Asia, including the Philippines. The term Negrito refers to their physical characteristics such as dark skin and curly hair. Physical traits. The MAMANWA people possess distinct physical traits including darker skin tone, curly or kenkay hair, short stature, broad nose, and thick lips. So these physical characteristics are shared among other Negrito groups in the Southeast Asia. And the genetic lineage of MAMANWA tribe, that genetic studies has revealed that the MAMANWA people have a distinct ancient lineage that diverse from other human populations around 36,000 years ago. This suggests that the MAMANWA people have a unique genetic history that is separate from other ethnic groups in the Philippines. For example, a study published in the Europe Journal of Human Genetics found that the MAMANWA people have a high frequency of a specific genetic marker that is rare in other populations. This marker is thought to have originated in Africa and was carried to the Southeast Asia by ancient human migration. This genetic evidence supports the idea that the MAMANWA people have a distinct ancient lineage that is separate from other ethnic groups in the Philippines. And also, cultural significance of MAMANWA tribe. The MAMANWA people, unique ethnic origins and physical traits are an important part of their cultural identity. They have rich cultural heritage that is closely tied to their ancestral lands and traditions. and even effort are being made to preserve and promote the Mamanwa people cultural heritage, including language documentation, cultural education programs, and community development initiatives. So next is the traditional settlement of the Mamanwa tribe. Traditionally, the Mamanwa people were nomadic, living in the small bands of 3 to 20 households. They would move from place to place in search of food, shelter, and other resources. Their dwellings were simple, often wooden structures made of natural materials such as leaves, branches, and bamboo. These structures were easy to build and dismantle, allowing the Mamanwa people to move easily from one place to another. Today, many Mamanwa people have transitioned to sedentary living in the barangays, villages. These barangay are often located near town and cities, providing access to markets, school, and other services. The Mamanwa people now engage in mixed substances and market activity. They continue to practice traditionally substances activities such as hunting, gathering, and farming. But they also participate in the market economy by selling their product and services. For example, a Mamanwa community in Agusan del Norte has established a community based in ecotourism project. The project allows tourists to visit their ancestral land and experience their traditional way of life. The community earns income from tourism, which they use to support their livelihoods and conserve their natural resources. This example illustrates how the Mamanwa people have adapted the modern times while still maintaining their cultural heritage and traditional way of life. The tradition to sedentary living and mixed substances and market activity has brought both benefit and challenges to the Mamanwa people. Some benefit includes increased access to education, healthcare, and other services, improved economic opportunities, and also enhanced cultural exchange and understanding. And the challenges of Mamanwa tribe is loss of traditional lands and resources, cultural erosion and assimilation, increased vulnerability to poverty and exploitation. So next is the hunter-gatherer life types of Mamanwa tribe. The Mamanwa people are primarily hunter-gatherers, relying on the forest and its resources for their sustenance, like wild fruits such as bananas, mangoes, and berries, and also honeys from beehives, tubers such as sweet potatoes and cassava, insects such as grasshoppers and crickets, and also small game such as birds, monkey, and wild pigs. Traditionally, tools and traps of the Mamanwa tribe. The Mamanwa people use traditional tools and traps to hunt and gather food, like first, bayatik, a wooden spear with a metal tip used for hunting small game. Gahong, a pit trap used to catch larger game like wild pigs. And next is the slash and burn and wheat rice farming. In addition to hunting and gathering, the Mamanwa people also practice slash and burn farming and wet rice farming. So slash and burn farming, clearing land by burning vegetation, then planting crops like rice, corn, and sweet potatoes. And wet rice farming, planting rice in the flood fields using traditional irrigation system. For example, a Mamanwa community in Surigao del Norte practices slash and burn farming to grow rice and other crops. They clear the land by burning the vegetation, then plant their crops. After the harvest, they allow the land to lie fallow for several years, allowing the soil to regenerate. This example illustrates the Mamanwa people traditionally subsistence practice which are closely tied to their cultural identity and connection to the natural environment. So, importance of traditional practices, the Mamanwa people traditional subsistence practice are essential to their way of life, providing food security and self-sufficiency, cultural identity and continuity, connection to their ancestral land and natural environment. However, these traditional practices are facing challenges from modernization, deforestation, and climate change, which threaten the Mamanwa people way of life and their connection to the natural environment. So next, egalitarian bands of the Mamanwa tribe. The Mamanwa people live in the egalitarian bands, which are small group of families that are related by kinship or marriage. These bands are characterized by shared decision making and collective responsibility. So, respect for elders. The Mamanwa people have a deep respect for their elders who are valued for their wisdom and life experience, knowledge of traditional practices and custom, and also spiritual guidance and leadership. And for their informal leadership, so the leadership among the Mamanwa people is informal and merit-based. The chef, known as the Tambayon, is chosen for their wisdom and fairness, ability to mediate disputes and guide the group, spiritual power and connection to the ancestors. Rule of the Tambayon. The Tambayon plays a crucial role in Mamanwa society, serving as a mediator and arbitrator of disputes, a guide and advisor to the group, and a spiritual leader and connector to the ancestor. For example, in Mamanwa community in Agusan del Norte, the Tambayon is a respected elder named Manubo. Manubo is known for his wisdom and fairness, and it's often called upon to mediate disputes and guide the group. One day, a dispute arises between two families over a piece of land. Manubo is called upon to mediate the dispute and he listens carefully to both sides. After hearing their stories, Manubo suggests a compromise that satisfies both family. The family agreed to Manubo's suggestions and dispute is resolved. The community comes together to celebrate the resolution and Manubo is praised for his wisdom and leadership. This example illustrates the importance of the Tambayon in Mamanwa society and the value placed on wisdom, fairness, and spiritual guidance.
I am Apple Ugat. These are the continuation of Mark Anthony's report, which I'm going to discuss about cultural practices and beliefs, language, marriage, and age customs, cultural preservation, efforts of MAMANWA. So first, let's begin with cultural practices and beliefs. And also, the enemy's beliefs are spirit, supreme deity, magbabaya or tahaw, and also their death rituals, move camp after a death, specific burial customs, a 9-day mourning. A core belief is that spirits inhabit natural object and the environment and that these spirits play a role in daily life and the afterlife, no? And the concept of a supreme deity known as magbabaya or tao is a present representing a higher power or creator. And their death rituals, moving camp, no? After a death, the community or family may move their camp or living area, possibly to avoid the lingering spirit of the deceased. So there are specific and unique ways the body is prepared and burned after involving rituals to guide the soul to the afterlife. So after that is 9-day mourning. A 9-day period of mourning often involve prayers and rituals is observed to help the soul transition and to honor the deceased. So these practices are likely rooted in traditional beliefs and may vary slightly within the community, but generally reflect a reverence for the spiritual world and the focus on the transition of the soul after death. So let's proceed to the Mamanwa language. Mamanwa language, also known as Minamanwa, is a Central Philippine language spoken by Mamanwa people, an indigenous group in northeastern Mindanao. It's part of the Mansakan subgroup, and while it's related to languages like Cebuano and Suriguanon, it has unique linguistic features. The Mamanwa people also understand and often speak Cebuano and Suriguanon, the dominant languages in their region in 1990. There were around 5,200 speakers of Mamanwa. So next is the marriage and age customs. The Mamanwa people, an indigenous group in the Philippines, have unique marriage and age customs that reflect their cultural heritage. While formal rites are less documented, their traditional provide insight into their community values. No, the Mamanwa people have a distinct practices where widows return to their parents' community. These customs highlights the importance of the family ties and community support. And the traditional age for marriage among Mamanwa is not well recorded, but it is likely similar to neighboring tribes, typically occurring in late teens or early adulthood. These practices may be influenced by cultural and community traditions. These customs demonstrate the Mamanwa's strong connection to their community and cultural heritage. Understanding these practices provides valuable insight into the Mamanwa's way of life and their unique cultural identity. And next is the cultural preservation efforts. The Mamanwa people, an indigenous group in the Philippines, face challenges in preserving their cultural heritage amidst modernization. However, community initiatives and livelihood projects help save their traditions. The Mamanwa have adapted to changing times by engaging in traditional craft like basket weaving, hammock making, and other crafts. This livelihood project not only generate income but also help preserving their cultural heritage. So, cultural preservation initiatives. Now, community initiatives focus on preserving Mamanwa culture through first oral traditions like passing down songs, stories, and rituals through generations. Second is ritual and ceremonies, continuing traditional practices and spiritual observance. And the third is small scale farming, maintaining their ancestral way of life and connection to the land. So these are the political advocacy of Mamanwa. The Mamanwa, as part of the broader Lumad network, advocate for their rights to ancestral lands. This effort aims to protect their cultural heritage, traditional way of life, and territory. And also, the Mamanwa people's cultural preservation efforts demonstrate their resilience and determination to safeguard their heritage by combining livelihood projects, community initiatives, and political advocacy. They work towards preserving their unique cultural identity. So, the summary of our discussion is that the Mamanwa tribe, an indigenous group in the Philippines, boasted distinct difference in culture, language, and traditional practices. Their rich culture emphasized community and cooperation with a deep respect for nature. Traditionally, they are hunter-gatherers and farmers, utilizing slash and burn and wet rice farming methods, with a population of approximately 7,000 to 8,000 in 2020, projected to grow to 9,000 to 10,000 by 2025. They primarily inhabit Agusan del Norte and Surigao del Sur. known for hospitality and respect for elders. They have preserved their tribe through language, documentation, cultural education programs, and community-based ecotourism. Their language belong to Austronesian family, and they typically marry between 18 to 25-year-old. Overall, the Mamanwa tribe is a unique and vital part of the Philippines' cultural diversity.
So here's some the additional information related to the MAMANWA tribe. So first we have language family. The MAMANWA language belongs to the Austronesian language family, which is widely spoken in the Southeast Asia and the Pacific. So next is the additional clothing. The MAMANWA people traditional wearing clothing made from natural fiber such as cotton, abaca, and pineapple leaf. Their clothing is simple, practical, and suitable for their tropical environment. So next is the traditional music and dance. So the Mamanwa people have a rich traditions of music and dance, which plays an important role in their cultural and spiritual practices. Their traditional instruments include the kalintang, a set of gongs, and the suling of a bamboo flute. And next is traditional food. The Mamanwa people traditionally eat a variety of food, including root crops, fruit, nuts, and wild game. Their staple food is rice, which they cultivate using traditional farming method. So next is cultural significance of ancestral lands. The Mamanwa people have a deep spiritual connection to their ancestral land, which they believe are inhabited by spirit and ancestors. Their ancestral lands are not only a source of livelihood, but also a source of cultural and spiritual identity. And next is the challenges facing the Mamanwa tribe. So the Mamanwa tribe faces several challenges, including loss of ancestral land due to the deforestation, mining, and other development projects, and also cultural erosion due to the modernization and assimilation. And next is the effort to support the Mamanwa tribe. So several organizations and initiatives are working to support the Mamanwa tribe, including cultural documentation and preservation project, and also community-based ecotourism initiative, and education and healthcare program. And last is the advocacy and support for ancestral land. So those efforts aim to promote the cultural heritage and well-being of the Mamanwa tribe, while also recognizing and respecting their rights to their ancestral lands and traditional way of life. So all of that is the discussion of the Mamanwa tribe. So here is our inclusion. The Mamanwa tribe is a distinct and a vibrant indigenous group in the Philippines with a rich culture, unique practices, and a strong sense of community. Despite facing challenges in preserving their traditional way of life, the Mamanwa people have made significant effort to document and promote their languages, culture, and customs. Through community-based ecotourism project, cultural education program, and language documentation, they have been able to preserve their tribe and pass on their tradition to future generation. The Mamanwa tribe resilience and determination to preserve their cultural heritage serve as an inspiration to other indigenous communities and a reminder of the importance of culture diversity and preservation. As we move forward, it is essential that we continue to support and recognize the right of the Mamanwa people to their ancestral land, cultural heritage, and traditional way of life. Ultimately, the story of the Mamanwa tribe is one of hope, resilience, and the importance of preserving our cultural heritage for future generations.
The Mamanwa tribe's culture is a rich and vibrant tapestry woven from their history, traditions, and connection to the natural world. At its core, their culture is centered around community, cooperation, and a deep respect for the land and their ancestors. Their traditional way of life is characterized by a strong emphasis on substances activities such as hunting, gathering, and farming, which are not only essential for their survival but also deeply meaningful and spiritual. The Mamano people's cultural practices are imbued with a sense of reverence and respect for the natural world, which is re- reflect in their traditional music, dance, and art. Their cultural artifacts, such as basket and wooden carvings, are not only beautiful and intricate, but also carry deep symbolic meaning and significance.
So all of that is the discussion about the Mamanwa tribe. So that's the end of our topic. Thank you for listening.